Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Heart Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Hope with Cosmic Heart TV. Today we're going to be talking about the auric field, the breakdown of how the auric field works and looks, and how dis-ease and health issues and illness has a potential to manifest into the physical body, and essentially how this process works. I have taught this on different platforms before, but this is going to be a more in-depth breakdown, and hopefully this will help to bring more awareness and understanding to something that is not widely understood yet. So first we're going to start with the understanding and idea that is taught in shamanism and many spiritual teachings around the world. And this is with the idea and understanding that when a person goes through an experience, whether it's an isolated experience or it is something that is recurring abuse or trauma or, emotional disturbance, this happens on the outer layer of the energy field first, and then in time, through different experiences, it can work its way into the physical body. So I'm going to show you a visual representation that I really love because it just gives such a perfect breakdown. It's funny, before I found this, I actually drew this just from my mind's eye. I have multiple drawings of this exact representation, most of it, not all of the details, but from what I could gather and see for myself. So I was really excited when I found this because I was like, this is what I've been drawing for so long. So it's kind of a little blurry. So basically, if you see here's the physical body, and then we have all of these layers in the auric field. So when we look at the physical body as the physical vessel, we sometimes get a little confused on thinking that just because the physical body is physical means that it isn't also energetic. So when we understand that the physical body is actually also a form of energy, then we can understand how something in our auric field or energy field can have a potential to manifest itself into the physical body. The reason why this is important to preface the deeper levels of understanding on this is, and I've taught this for years, when energy vibrates, it vibrates based off of the state of frequency of the object or matter. So water vibrates at a higher speed and a higher rate of frequency than a rock. A rock is one of the slowest forms of speed in a frequency of a physical object. Bone is very similar to rock, but not exactly the same. A little higher frequency. Okay, so when we look at the physical body, we have blood, plasma, we have water, we have muscle, we have nerves and tendons, we have bone, and then we have hair, etc. So when we look at the physical body of anything, we have this alchemy happening at all times, because there is literally all these different forms of matter that vibrate at different rates and different speeds of frequency, and yet they all exist in one form which is working harmoniously together symbiotically and intelligently with divine intelligence, which communicates to the external of itself, which is the divine, and then the internal of itself, which is the divine intelligence it runs on and the programs it runs on. So there's just like this constant alchemy of food turning into vitamins and energy that the body can use, and blood being oxygenated and utilizing oxygen that the body breathes in to create oxygenated blood that carries into the body and utilizes it to keep it functioning properly and alive and healthy. There's all these different things that happen all of the time. Cells are constantly doing all their functions, and they're alchemizing into different forms of themselves. It's just such an amazing, intelligent vessel. So there's always this alchemy happening all the time. So now when we are looking at the auric field, we tend to have most people tend to have the understanding that the auric field, the energy field outside of the body, is separate from the body. And this is where I feel my role in teaching this will also help hopefully bring some understanding that the physical body is not in fact separate from the energy body. It's not in fact deviated from. It's actually an extension of the auric field and the spirit and the soul. So yes, when the body of a person or a living being passes on and the soul leaves, yes, it then separates. But while the soul and the spirit is inhabiting the physical body, it is not separate from the physical body, because it is the life force energy that actually fuels and keeps alive the physical body. So again, this is a lot to break down. When it comes to the spirit versus soul, so I have taught this as well many times, but I have not yet on my podcast. I don't think, I'm not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and break that down now. The spirit is the energetic blueprint that is formed when the body is formed and is being created to come into life into this world. So the spirit of the person develops over time, but it is basically like a template for like who that person is going to be in the current incarnation. So the spirit is like encoded with like beliefs from the parents and the grandparents, energies passed down from the parents and grandparents and up the lineage on both sides, personality traits from both sides, things that the parents and other family members are passionate about and love. Then the spirit gets imprinted with belief systems after they're born, after the person is born, and as they grow into their own person, into their own person, the spirit then is lack of a better word, and honestly an appropriate word, indoctrinated with the belief systems of parents, grandparents, other people, friends, whatever, TV shows, etc. So the spirit of the person is constantly evolving and becoming its own identity, whereas the soul, which is like here in the auric field, this is like the spirit of the person, and then the outer layer, and it I mean, it influxes, like it's the soul is inside the body and outside the body, but like the soul is like the over layer of the spirit. So it's like that's your soul. Your soul is really, really big, and your soul is going to continue holding the memories of every single lifetime that you've ever had. It just doesn't always allow you to remember. Well, it's not your soul that doesn't allow you to remember, but that's another story for another time. Your soul has the memories of all incarnations, but when it comes into human form, oftentimes the memories are not fully present of all the other lifetimes. Now, sometimes it is, maybe more often now that we are going through evolution, but it is what is eternal and always. Your spirit is your temporary like template of who you are in the physical body in the current incarnation that you're living, if that makes sense. Okay, so when we look at this is quite an in-depth description of the auric field. So I'm going to kind of just read to you some of what we have here. So we have the frequency and emotional body. We have the mental body, which is the next layer. We have the frequency archetype body, the frequency angelic body. We have the etheric body, the monadic body, the chariatric body, the Christic body, the Buddhic body, the nirvanic body, the primal light field, which is Ki. We have Ra, the primal light field, Sha, primal light field, and then we have the violet flame, the gold flame, and the blue flame. So there are other energy layers that people have named. Now, we're not going to get into all that right now because it's each one of those is a separate teaching in and of itself. So to simplify, and it is still quite in depth, so we're going to simplify the best we can. Okay, so we're going to simplify everything right now the best we can. When we look at the energetic body, when we look at the auric field, we don't need to think about all of the different layers and levels of the energy field and the auric field while we're doing meditation or healing work. We allow for the higher self, which is the soul, to do the work according to what is the highest good for each individual person. So we don't need to necessarily know all of these different details and names and whatever of all the layers of the energy field. If you want to and you want to learn all of them and you are passionate about that and it's something that you would like to learn and practice or teach, absolutely, that is awesome. Please study as much as you feel that you need to. What I want to be able to do is give guidance that helps simplify things for anyone to be able to work with and understand, because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to be the whole, most healed, healthy, well version of ourselves. So when we are meditating or we're doing healing work, and even if you don't have good spiritual sight or energetic sight, it's okay. When we focus our mind and attention on anything that we're doing, whether it's healing, whether it's meditation, whether it's conscious creation and manifestation, whatever it is, our focus is the most important part and our thoughts are the second most important. So as we are focusing on meditating, when we begin to understand how things can have a potential to get into the auric field and energy field, and then have a potential to manifest into the physical body as, like I said before, illness, ailment, dis-ease, etc., we have to understand these basic principles that I've been teaching, which is that the physical body is a form of energy. It is simply that it has been misunderstood on a larger scale because humans often think of physical body as not energetic. So when we understand that the physical body is actually energy in different frequencies and states of speed of motion and different speeds of vibration, we then understand that that is how trauma and traumatic events or abuse or things like that can affect the physical body through the energy field. So when we look at this diagram here, when you think of this as a child or even an adult, but someone who is being yelled at, okay? When someone is yelling at a person, screaming, berating them, abusing them, sending negative energy through their words or just their thoughts or their energies, it goes through the auric field. And so each time the person is yelled at, more upset energy and emotion is getting lodged into these layers. Sometimes it only gets into a little bit. Other times it might have cut really deep. Other times it might have immediately affected the body. When a person is physically traumatized or abused, it immediately gets in. It doesn't necessarily get into the body, but it definitely affects the state of the body to where they are then feeling physical symptoms like anxiety, stress, stomach upset, their head might feel dizzy. A lot of different things can happen. So when we look at how the physical body is affected by abuse, yelling, trauma, etc., and environmental factors, we have to understand that because the body is not as separate from the spirit as it seems to be thought of as, we have to understand that the brain is going to be the first thing that's affected. The way the brain perceives experiences that are external of itself are everything. So when we can understand that a lot of mental health issues and mental illness and dis-ease happens because of external factors, when it comes to, we're not talking about dietary stuff or like what's put into bodies that causes this right now. We're just talking about abuse, trauma, and environmental factors such as like the external world of the person, because that conversation is just as valid and really incredibly important. It's too much to break down both of those in one episode. So the brain is the first to be affected because the mind perceives everything. So the body also does have intelligence and it does perceive what's happening. But the mind is your first perceptor. And then you have your heart. So your heart is also, I've spoken on this many times before, but there is a company. I know it was years ago when I first learned of them, but there was a program called the Heart Math Institute. And essentially what they were teaching is that they had discovered that the heart actually has, I think it was like 60 or 70% of the heart actually has neurons like a brain and actually perceives things like the brain does. Thinks like the brain, makes decisions like the brain, like has a perceptual awareness of what's going on. So when people say like, I I feel it in my heart, or I'm think like my heart tells me, that's because your heart actually thinks literally like a brain. And so when your heart is involved in the equation and your mind is involved in the equation, your heart and mind are your first perceivers of experiences. And then the rest of your body follows. So for children, when they're saying, they go through like stress and stuff like that, they don't understand why they have upset stomachs and stuff like that. But oftentimes, when a child is going through something emotional, usually, parents arguing or just something upsetting in general, a lot of times they'll say their tummy hurts or, things like that. And it's because it genuinely disturbed their body. Emotional awareness and emotional intelligence is something that is learned for a lot of people. It's not always a commonly understood and commonly taught thing in some families. Some families genuinely do not teach emotional intelligence, and they do not help their children and their grandchildren understand their emotions and feelings, because that ties back into the previous episode, which is families, generational traumas, generational, parents and grandparents not being heart connected, soul connected, and consciously aware of how their actions affect their children, their children's children, etc. And families just not being connected into their heart and souls in general. So, there's a lot of factors that tie into that. But getting back to what is most important here, when a person is affected by external factors, they are often usually long-standing things. It's not often isolated incidents. It's usually something that progresses over a long period of time or is constantly happening, and therefore it causes issues eventually in the physical body. So we don't really need to go into the kind of illness and issues and disease that can happen with these kinds of experiences, because the list is too long to go over at the moment. But what I will say is, when it comes to having a better understanding of how this process works, I feel like this should be taught in medicine. I feel like this should be taught in mainstream schools, because when we understand the correlation between the physical body and the spirit, and when we understand the correlation between abuse and how it affects the auric field and the spirit and the physical body and mind, we can better assist our patients and clients with the issues that they're experiencing on a deeper rooted level. So I want to say, I am not against Western medicine, and I'm not against modern modern medicine. Every single part of medicine, whether it's natural, whether it's ancient Chinese, whether it's Ayurvedic in India, whether it's native remedies, whatever it is, every single one of those things holds a place for different sections of humanity. And so, there are instances for people where Western medicine is literally life-saving. And had they not had it, they wouldn't even be here, or, would have been seriously in a way worse situation. So every single thing has its place. It's just when it comes to Western medicine or any other type of medicine practice, medical practice, excuse me, I fully believe, and obviously so many spiritual and energetic healers and herbalists and natural medicine doctors also feel this way. I've spoken to many and heard from many. Um, it's really crucial to have mind, body, spirit at play. So when a person comes into someone's office and it's a Western medicine office, the only main factors most doctors look at is, what are you eating? Have you done anything different? What medications are you taking? And have you done anything different recently? I understand that most doctors are really inundated with a lot of patients and they don't usually seem to have a lot of time to go in an in-depth process with every single patient. And, I get all of that. So, I'm not saying they're not doing their best, but when it comes to having an integration of what actually affects the human being, we have to include the spirit, because when we omit the connection to the soul and spirit from the picture of Western medicine, we are doing such a disservice to humans, to people, because we are taking away from the most crucial part of the human experience when we do not look at the spirit and the heart and the energy and the experience of the person that they're experiencing to have these things manifest in the first place. Now, I'm going to also add that there are plenty of people who have gone to the doctor or hospitals and had tons of tests done and had like chronic pain and all these different things. And the doctors literally cannot understand what is going on for the person. Oftentimes, that is because the person is experiencing something in their spirit and their physical body is responding. It hasn't yet manifested into a physical issue, but the physical body is feeling it because the spirit is experiencing the discomfort. And so this is where having shamans, energy healers, etc., in modern medicine and Western medicine practice is critical, because we can come in and look at the energy of the person and the spirit and say, oh, this person is experiencing this based off of trauma or whatever, and then we can help them release it. Therefore, we can be the bridge between the abuse or trauma that happened before it manifests into the physical body. If we all can work together and have this unification of the spirit healers, the herbalists, the naturopaths, and the Western medicine doctors, instead of having this divide, we are able to actually create a whole full spectrum medicine practice that can actually serve humanity's greatest good. And I saw some promising things happen with one of the hospitals. It was, I'm not thinking of the name at the moment, but there's a hospital that was my father was going to before he passed, and they did offer Reiki healers, and so I thought that was really amazing. They do have faith healing people that come in and do things like that. All of those things are awesome. I'm just saying, if we can actually once and for all combine forces and work together, with each other so that we can treat the mind, the body, and the spirit of the person, we will have a much more healed society. So these are things that, I just want to put out there. I would love to see this happen and manifest in a real way. I have been wanting this for so long. So many of us have been wanting this for so long. If we can really push for this as a movement, this would be the ideal future of medicine. And I genuinely, fully believe that.